Hey everyone, this is your favorite radio host, your only radio host and favorite girl, of course, Corinne Lafont, broadcasting to you from Trinidad and Tobago on Between the Lines. And you know, if you're a regular watcher, listener, follower, stalker of my show, Between the Lines, you will know how I start my show, that I'm always thankful. I am always thankful for being here, for breathing, for having life, for the gift of new mercies, new blessings, a do-over. I get a blank slate every day. Can you imagine that? Every day I get a blank slate to do what the hell I want. I just love it. Every day I have a new slate. When last have you heard that word, slate? You know, I grew up with that. You know, a slate, that black little blackboard thing that you can carry around with the with the wooden edges, and you can draw. Does that exist now? I'm like, when last? I don't know what the hell that is. What we used to use that thing for? To write on, to work out maths, draw, just doodle. You know, what the hell? I am like, now that I think about it, what the hell we had those things for? But I guess it worked. And as much as we modernized and moved away and evolved, we need to go back to these things. Because children are not doodling anymore. What they're doing is finger tapping on their phones. Everything is like, it's all about the two thumbs on their phones. Wow. It's a beautiful day here in Trinidad and Tobago, and it's a beautiful day where my guest is. She's going to tell you, and we're going to learn a little bit about her. And today's show is a phrase that is very common, and I'm sure it would resonate with you. The worst child I've seen in 20 years of teaching. Not her. Probably she was told that too. We don't know. We'll hear about it. But the worst child I've seen in 20 years of teaching. Have you ever heard that? I mean, told about your child, or to you, because we were children once and we went to school. We were probably the worst child. I was told I was the most talkative. It was always on my report. And clearly it's worked out for me because I'm on radio. So yay, right? I'm the most talkative. Corinne talks too much. And here I am talking even more. What if my teacher saw me? Would they put that on my report? Hell yeah. So I have Loy Letchford here. I wonder what was on her report. We'll find out. I'm sure she was just the worst child ever. So we down under in Australia. We'll hear all what her teachers had to say. I should have told her to bring her reports, right? But I'm sure she'll remember a couple of them. So let me tell you a bit about Loy. Loy Letchford specializes in teaching children who have struggled to learn to read. Using creative teaching methods, Lloyd perceives reading instructions as a dynamic quest to meet the complex needs of students, placing them on a path to become skilled readers. Originally a physical education teacher, she completed a master's in literacy and reading at SUNY, I guess you pronounce it as SUNY, Albany. Lloyd presents her work at numerous conferences around the world. And yes, reading is a significant area that we need to focus on, especially for me, I guess, for the boys. Girls tend to read a lot more than boys. I don't know if that has changed. She can tell us more about that. But let's find out first about Loy's childhood and what was on her report, since I shared what was on my report. And she's a teacher. She needs to speak the truth. Okay? Don't lie, Loy. Welcome, Loy, to Between the Lines.
Good morning, Corinne. It's lovely to be on Between the Lines.
Yes.
I talk about writing on a slate in my book when I was in first grade. So
are you serious? You had a slate, Loy?
Yes. And we would sharpen our slate pencils outside on the concrete. What did you do to sharpen your slate pencil?
Well, we were using chalk. We didn't have any pencils as far as I know. We had chalk on our slate because the slate was just like the blackboard, the blackboard where you use chalk on board. So we had chalk, so it was dusty. I don't remember I don't recall having a pencil on a slate. It was always chalk. We had to use chalk.
Well, it was a slate pencil that would get very blunt, so you would sharpen it and rub it outside on the concrete to give it a little bit of a point.
Oh, well, you're talking a pencil. We had like a miniature version of a blackboard. That's portable. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's how I started my life.
Wow. So what did your teachers have to say about you, Loy?
Well, I grew up reading words and not comprehending.
What?
So I grew up, you know, I'm reading about you.
Recognize words, yes. Word
Yes.
recognition, yes.
I had word recognition, but I couldn't comprehend. So I didn't grow up like you, reading and reading and reading and reading. Reading for me was a struggle.
Wow. So what was on your report? I want you to share one of those juicy things that when you had to come home with your report and you're like, oh my God, if my mother saw this.
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because I could read words, everyone was happy. They didn't care that I couldn't comprehend.
Or they didn't know that you didn't comprehend. Did they know?
I think by the time I got to 5th and 6th grade, they worked out that I couldn't comprehend, and then you're just not very smart.
Oh.
And I remember dropping in class, you know, from the top of the class to the middle of the class, and it wasn't because I worked any harder or any less. It's because the questions changed.
Oh.
So that's my background into reading.
And how did that lead you now? I guess because of your past, your experience, you were able to recognize what was going on with your son. I mean, and they called him the worst child in 20. And isn't that awful? How could somebody say that about a child?
It was quite fascinating because the way it came about. Nicholas failed first grade in Australia, in Brisbane, Australia, you know, in a top school that university professors send their children to. So he failed, which meant he had no words, they found no strengths, and then they told me he has a low IQ. Now, this is the privilege of our family. My husband is a professor, so we went away for 6 months. And during that time, I took Nicholas out of school and I started with a program, and that was a total disaster. So I threw that away and started to do my own teaching, which was writing poems. And in the process of writing poems, I tapped into Nicholas's curiosity. Nicholas is very slow with language, but the poetry allowed us to do the rhyming words and see that he could remember things. And then I wrote this poem about Captain Cook, you know, the last of the great explorers. And it's while I'm writing that, Nicholas said to me, "Who came before Captain Cook?" I said, "That's easy. Christopher Columbus was the first one that we know of." And then he said, "And who came before Columbus?" And that threw me.
Yeah.
And then he asked, "Can I see Captain Cook's original maps?" And those questions do not come from a child with a low IQ.
Clearly not. Clearly not.
And so when we returned to Australia, I went back to the diagnostician. I was so excited, you know, to tell her about Nicholas and all that he's learned. I said, "These are the
curiosity." Yes, the curiosity.
Yes. And she stood there, put her hands on her hips and said, "Well, he's the worst child I've seen in 20 years of teaching."
I see.
And it wasn't long before I was back in her office, pounding my fist on her table and saying, "You can call him whatever you like, but if he is the worst child you've seen in 20 years of teaching, don't expect him to learn like everyone else."
Yes.
And that's where I started to say, let's change how we teach, like I've done. And that's what happened with Nicholas. And from there on, I really took the teaching at home and let him succeed in school. And
I have a couple of points because a lot of things are running through my head. Now, one thing, your husband is a professor, you're from a teaching background, and people are automatically going to say, how could you produce a child with a challenge? I mean, their parent, look, her husband is the father is a professor after all, the mother is a teacher. What? You're supposed to produce high DNA, automatic robots who's supposed to be brilliant. You shouldn't be having any challenges. How is that? That's the first thing.
Well, that's what I thought too.
But that is not the case because they are children. I mean, I come from a teaching background as well. I taught for a couple of years and I know how to teach. I have the ability to teach and pass on information and recognize when a child is not learning in a particular way. And we really need to know, if we look at ourselves as examples, we learn differently, you know, and not everything is processed the same way in our brains as in somebody else's. The curiosity that your son had, I may not have, or somebody else may not have. And you may be wondering, why the hell he came up with that? Who cares who came before Columbus? Why you need to see the damn maps? You're like, you know, somebody will be saying that. What, you had to think of that? Really? Who cares? That is what somebody else will be thinking. Just accept the damn information. But he wants to know. And he's going to dig. Somebody else will be saying, what the hell? Who are you? Why you had to be different? Just go with the program. So you know, this is the kind of dynamics that happen in the class. There's always one person that throws the whole thing off, and that one person is actually who would be deemed as dumb, stupid, trying to break everything. It would be the brightest person in the class. Why? Because they are not willing to accept what is given to them.
Yeah.
So a couple of things coming at you, Loy.
Yes.
Not because you're a teacher, not because we're teachers or parents out there who are teachers. Their children are going to be the brightest. They struggle in the same way as any other child. They go to the PTA same way as the parents come. They end up in the disciplinary office in the same way. Their children have detention. What makes people feel that because your children come from a teaching or professorial background, that their child ends up being in the same strain? They're human. They have different challenges. Why? So you said you taught the same way. You had that same way of thinking. Hey, I'm a teacher. My husband is a professor. What's going on with my child?
Exactly right. And what happened, and it takes a while to work it out, Nicholas had ear infections from the time that he was 8 to 18 months. And it actually impacts the learning brain. You don't get language at that time and you end up with a significant language problem. That was one of his problems. The second is what I just told you, is that I wasn't aware that I had learning difficulties when I was a child. So you've got the two combinations with Nicholas. So you don't quite know what's coming from where, but you end up with the child who is absolutely struggling with language, and that's why he didn't learn to read in the first grade and learned absolutely nothing in the first grade.
So what is it in you that decided that instead of frustrating yourself, instead of labeling your child dumb, slow, incompetent, and all those negative things, like the teacher who said to him, you're the worst child, labeling him in this fashion, at what point did you decide you needed to step back and really assess and look at it from a different angle?
Well, that time in Oxford, that 6 months in Oxford that we had when I was writing poems, what happened was we started, it was a disaster, and the teaching totally turned around to be so exciting. I had Nicholas with me the whole way. He's learning. I'm learning. I'm writing, and he's loving it, and he's learning to read. That really was the driver. And then when the diagnostician came with those awful words, I had in my mind, this child can learn.
Yes.
And I needed to see both, because if seeing Nicholas just as a first grade student with no language, you think, oh, this poor kid, what's he going to do throughout his life? How's he going to do anything?
Yeah.
And then I saw the opposite. I saw, hey, this kid's amazing. I wouldn't just amazing. I'm gobsmacked by the things that he's asking. And you've got this enormous discrepancy between his language ability and his thinking ability.
Yeah. And at what age was that?
7.
7.
7 years old.
So hold on. And what age were you at?
I was 39.
And you were not even thinking like that.
Yes.
What does that say about you, Loy?
It says you fall into the trap of being the same as the school.
Exactly. And you started to box him in.
Yes.
Your way of thinking, you carved out a particular way. So when you realize, wait a minute, I am freaking 39. My 7-year-old son is thinking, asking these questions that I never asked myself. What the hell is going on here? There is a gap. I am actually excited about the questions he's asking. He's curious about something that I never even thought about. What? No, something is happening here. I'm the dumb one. He's the bright one.
You are so right.
Yeah.
And school was wrong.
Yeah.
School was
So
wrong.
you realize you woke up. It's not him. It was you. You woke up. So when we are looking to blame everybody else, right? It's you to damn well wake up. It's not the child. The child is already awake. It's you that need to catch up.
I love you.
I love you. I know. I'm honest. I'm telling you the damn truth. It's you that need to wake up. The child is so awake. He's probably saying in his mind, what the hell is wrong with my mother? Why can't she get it? What is taking her so long? And she's 39. She's an adult. Why isn't she getting it? So can you imagine the things that are going through a child's head when they look at us? They're probably thinking, why, what it is that's so difficult? The thing is simple. And we are there, bigger, older, thinking that we are wiser and feel we know it all because of those characteristics, when we really don't know shit.
You are so right. You are absolutely right.
So you woke up, and you know what woke you up? The questions he asked, because you realize, hold up, I don't have the answer. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. But what happened to my son is exactly what happens to other children, only they don't have the privilege that I had and he had.
This is what I'm saying, but it takes the question, like what I ask you, is what happened? And the thing that happened is that you woke up.
Yeah.
You woke up. A lot of parents are not waking up to the possibility that their child could be a prodigy, a brilliant person, not in the area that they box them into.
Yeah. Yeah.
That he or she can be brilliant in a field that is way beyond his or her time, or way beyond my time as an adult.
Yes.
And your responsibility as a parent is to wake up and help that child channel that energy into that particular direction, not push them in the direction you want them to go, which is what the schools do. This is the program. This is the system. You better follow this. This is what I was trained in school to do. This is what the book says I'm supposed to do or say to you or write in your report. You know, right? This is what I'm supposed to do. When you come with your out of the box thinking ways and asking questions that is not regular, I don't know how to deal with that. So then I have to label you dumb, stupid.
Yes.
The worst child out of the century.
That's exactly the correct response that lady should have said to me was, the child you see and the child we see are two different children.
No, but she's not awake, Loy.
She's not awake. She was not awake.
No, she's in the system. She's programmed, as with a lot of others, and there are few. If you even watch the movies, Loy, movies that are brought out on these things, or even people who try to be different, they come against a lot of resistance. There are some teachers that recognize potential in certain children, and they take it upon themselves to go outside the system, to work with the child. There are few, and they come against resistance from other teachers, from the administration. They're like, why are you wasting your time with this child? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? It's a waste of time. Let the system just take him, they just move him to the next grade. And these children get lost and they need somebody to guide them in a particular direction. We
Yes.
know from experience, Lloyd, that there are children that come back and look for those teachers and say, if it wasn't for you,
Yes.
I would not be, because everybody else rejected them. Everybody else cast them aside. Everybody else labeled them. And that
Yes.
one person worked with them.
Yes.
You, as his mother, of course, being obligated, was that one person and didn't give up on him. Thank God. A lot of parents give up on their children.
Yes.
And you didn't allow the diagnostician, the administration, not even your husband, stop you from doing what you had to do. You became awake and he woke you up. Your son, you need to thank your son for waking you up.
I do. And he thanks me.
Yeah.
When he talks to me now about his early learning, he cries.
He must.
30, he cries.
He must.
He's got a PhD.
I was just about to say that. What do you have, Loy? What do you have?
I have a son with a PhD from Oxford.
Right? From being the worst child in 20 years, 2 decades, whatever. Right? They could have been the century. We don't care. He has a PhD. What does that say? There's potential in everyone.
Yes.
And
it also says we have to teach these children when they are 7 and 8. Because the biggest deal was teaching him out at that age. He could then go back into the classroom and take up more from the classroom. That was absolutely key.
Yeah. What's happening in the classrooms now, Law? You're a teacher. You move from physical education into literacy.
Yeah.
Are you still actively operating in the field?
We have moved as I've followed my husband, and I cannot teach in upstate New York.
Okay.
Which is why I wrote the book. What do you want to do now? I did my master's degree in literacy here just to get me back into the system. It gave me good reading and it gave me further foundations on what I do work. So then I wrote the book on Nicholas, because Nicholas's story just got better and better and better.
Isn't that awesome?
Yes.
What are you noticing in the system now? What would your recommendations be to parents? Let's start with the parents, because everything starts in the home. What would your recommendation be to parents to help their kids?
You've got to read to your children and talk to them. Talk using wide range of language. That becomes important. Once they go to school, it's keeping an eye on, make sure they are progressing. The earlier you see failure, the earlier we get intervention. Do something about it. And this is where the problem comes, because school is not much different from what my son experienced. And I tutor after school now. And this is 2017. And the first little boy I get is 7 years old. And he comes to me with no words.
That's fine. No. Blank slate. Blank slate.
But school had written him off. And I said, immediately I'm saying, I know what to do with this child. Again, I start writing poems. I change the poems for him. That boy now is reading on a level L.
Wow. What does that mean? What does that mean?
It means he's growing. He's reading for comprehension. He's decoding words. He's interested in literacy. That's what it means.
Yes. And with boys, do you find this more challenging than girls?
Not really, because when I'm teaching, I'm putting the child at the center of my teaching. What's far more important is that we connect them with literacy. It's not a matter of saying, I am using this textbook or this book. It's what is the child interested in? What is the child's cultural background? What language do they use at home and know? Because there's a gap between the language used in school and the language used every day. And that's a big gap. So I'm connecting with the child all the time, all that they know.
What would you say to the system, the administration, the schools, the education system? to recognize the potential in these kids and not write them off. Nobody has a right to write off anybody. Who are you, really? Who made you judge and jury to decide who should be where and what? Really? What would
That's
you
the
say?
because that's what happened to this little boy from 2 years ago. I sat in a room with 20 people. They had all their statistics and their data, and this child is non-reading. He's been in school for a year and a half, and I'm there saying, this child can learn to read. These are where the problems are. He's not getting the language component, and you're teaching him at a different level.
Mm-hmm.
And they sat there and say, well, you know, and they don't believe me. They don't want to believe it. They want to be right. And that's where the problem starts.
Yeah.
We have to change our attitude.
And you see the thing about it, Loy, is that it's hard to blame them because they are working with their own framework. Like I mentioned before, they are not aware. This is how they have been taught in their own school, culturalized, if I can say that word, socialized. So they're not aware. And so they're going to think within that limited capacity. And when people see something, when a challenge come up to them that they don't know is out of their comfort zone, they're like, nope, throw that away. Nope, I can't deal with this. I don't know about this. I've never seen this. This is outside of my parameter. Discard that, get rid of it. I don't want to deal with that. As opposed to saying, this is a new challenge. Let me see how I can figure this out. This is out. Accept that it is out of your comfort zone. You have never come upon it before, but it actually challenges you to find a solution. To see what's within you as a teacher or an administrator or somebody in the system to say, let's figure this out. We have someone here who has a challenge, and yes, we haven't met it before, but it allows us to learn more about ourselves too, because you helping Nicholas, it allowed you to learn about you.
Yes. But you have summed it up so well. It's far easier to say, I'm right and they are wrong.
Yeah.
I've done everything I can.
Yeah. And people always take the easy route. It's either the blame route or they discard it. They either blame or discard.
Yes.
But they're not going to take responsibility, because taking responsibility means they're going to be accountable. Nobody wants to look in that mirror and say, this is me. This is something I'm going to take on. And I'll tell you, it comes right down to fear. I'm afraid of failing. I heard you mention the word before, and I don't believe in failure. There's no such thing as failure. None. We use the word failure because, it's a word, and but we have to be careful the words we use as well. We're talking literacy, we're talking mindset and all of that. I do not believe in failure. There's no such thing as failure. You're learning along the path, because if you did not bump your toe and realize that, oops, if I walk there, I bump my toe. If I walk there again, I bump my toe. Oh, and I walk there again, I bump my toe. You're not going to learn that if I walk there again, I would bump my toe. So you avoid it. It's not a failure to say you bump your toe. It's not a failure to say you fall off your bike. Do you think, I've always heard this thing, when children are learning to walk, do you think they look around and say, oh my God, I just fell. Everybody's looking at me. I'm so embarrassed. They don't give a crap. They fall, they roll, they tumble, they bruise, and they get up and they walk again. And eventually they walk so strongly, you don't even remember that they fall down. Nobody sees that as a child learning to walk. Nobody sees that as failure. Nobody says, you failed to walk, you 1-year-old or 9-month-old, you failed to walk. Nobody, well, at least I would hope not, punishes a child for learning to walk.
Yes.
So we're not supposed to punish anyone or judge anyone for not understanding something. Look, just yesterday I was remembering something about myself. And I said, fractions was always my difficulty. Maths and fractions for the life of me. And I'm like, what the hell? Do I really need that right now? I just really can't be bothered with fractions. I really can't be bothered. And, as you get older, you realize you know, while fractions are a way of life every now and again, but things have evolved so much that you could plug in the information online and you can get the information that you need quickly. You know, it's so easy. Everything has become so easy. Exams are open book exams now. Everything is access to information. You know, I mean, so you're like, I am at an age and stage now. I could say, what the hell? What if I don't know fractions? Am I embarrassed about that? Hell no. But if you ask me about other things that I'm very well aware of and an expert in, I can speak on that. Which means to say, what I'm trying to say is you don't need to be an expert in everything. And people have this thinking that you're a professor, you're a teacher, you're supposed to know everything. You're a walking encyclopedia.
What you are saying is what's coming out through my story is the power of mindset.
Yeah.
If your mindset is, this child cannot read or cannot learn, that's exactly what happens. And when you change that mindset to what do I have to do, it totally transforms.
Of course. Solution mode. Solution
Yes.
mode. You've moved into solution.
Yeah.
And like you said, it comes back to reinforcing what I mentioned earlier. What do I have to do? It means I am taking responsibility. I am going to be accountable. But they don't do that in the system. They see something different than what they're accustomed, and is like, discard, reject, don't want it, you know, as opposed to looking at it as a challenge, something new to overcome.
Yes.
They don't. It's foreign to me, and I don't know of this. We need to get rid of it. Pass him or her into another school, put them in a system, you know, for slow children or whatever.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Put them in that system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could have done that with my son.
Mm-hmm.
And had he not read, I mean, I just cannot comprehend
where he would have ended up. Yeah.
That's right.
And imagine, you, lucky for you, you
Yes.
are educated, your husband is educated, you have the wherewithal. There are lots of kids, Loy, that end up in the system who don't have the wherewithal.
Yes. Yes. Well, I became a reading specialist because of my son, and I taught those children.
See? See?
That's my contribution.
Yeah. And it's just one child at a time, starting with yours.
Yes.
Starting with yours. And that's what we have to do. Just start one at a time. Start with your own and work on the others. And it's a good thing you, because of that, as I said, thank your son. You became aware. You moved from being a physical education teacher to a literacy specialist.
Yes.
That now you're able to help other kids because of the challenge. You found a solution.
Yes.
You did not discard him. You did not put him in the system. You did not reject him. You did not label him. And as a result, your eyes and your mind has been open. What if the other kids are like my son? That means to say there is hope for them too. I can help them. Oh my.
You've got it in one. You've got it. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have taken on the challenge. Well, while the others stay unconscious and unaware and in their box, you broke out of that box and said, hell, I don't want to be in a box. My son clearly doesn't want me to be in a box.
And what I love most is that teaching these children is so exciting.
It is because they ask some questions, Loy. Look here, that you're like, what the hell? I don't know. I don't know. And they force you because of their innocence. As I tell you, their mind is one of curiosity. As we get older, we are no longer curious. We just accept. We just accept, which is a shame.
I love you so much.
I love you more. I love you more. It is a shame. And should you, as an adult, show any sign of curiosity, oh my God, you're labeled. Why do you want to know that? Why? Why do you want to know? Why are you so curious? How is that your concern? Why do you want to try that? Just accept it. No, this, if we really want to change things in life and become a better version of ourselves and open ourselves to knowledge, we have to be curious. This is where curiosity, this is the beginning of knowledge, curiosity.
Yes.
Asking the questions and
Yes.
asking the so-called quote unquote crazy, stupid, dumbass questions.
Yes.
Because believe it or not, we know it, Loy. We sit in a
Yeah.
class before and we know the same thing we're asking, somebody wants to know, but they're just afraid to ask
Yes.
because of how they will be looked upon. Yeah. It's fear. Everything comes from fear. Fear of having to face it, something different. Fear of dealing with it. Fear of probably it not working out. Fear of not finding the right solution. Fear, of how people may think of you. Fear, just fear.
And acceptance that it's okay
Of
for
course,
this. Not
of course it's okay. What the hell? Of course it's okay. It's okay. That's my mantra to everything, Okay.
But yeah. So,
Yeah,
but it's not okay to have a child non-reading. It's
yeah,
not okay. And
right.
that's what to say. It's
That's
not
it.
okay.
It's not okay. And it's because he's okay with being who he is. I'm okay with him not understanding, but it's okay that he can also learn. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay you don't want to teach my child. It's okay that he's the worst child in the 20th century. It's okay. It's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay you don't want him. It's okay. I want him. It's
Yes.
okay. It's okay.
It's phenomenal to talk to my son now about, we're just talking to him because he's so articulate.
Of course.
He talks
The boy
more
is smarter than you. The boy is smarter.
way smarter than me. And my husband gets jealous because of the amount of mathematics he's done.
Right? And that's your fault, Lloyd. That's your fault. Now I'm blaming you. You have started. What have you done? What have you done? I'm turning the tables on you now. What have you done?
Yes, unleashed a tiger.
Yeah.
Well, I hope I have, because the world does need shaking up. We do need to.
It does. Serious shaking up.
Yes.
Yes.
We can.
But you see, what it takes for it to shake up is somebody who is willing to be deviant.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to be deviant. You cannot be one who just accepts. You have to be deviant and you have to be okay with it. You have to be okay with being deviant.
Do you know what I do? My best lesson, and it's a lesson I take to the first students. Whenever I have a new student, I take this lesson with me. Have we got time to tell you this?
Yes.
I take a shoebox and I put on the shoebox what could be in this box, what should be in this box, and what would I like to find in this box. Now, this is, for children who've never done anything. I have to start thinking. That's the first thing. And you've got them actively learning. And I give them some choices. So they've got to work out. And then they open the shoebox. And inside, there's more shoeboxes. And a bottle of juice wrapped in bubble wrap. Because it's, it's juice. It's got to be protected. And you get the same thing. What could be in it, what should be in it, what would you like to find in it? And on the bottle of juice, there's a letter under this note that would be wise to read before you make a decision. And the letter is from the zoo saying that it was actually elephants that peed into this bottle and it could possibly be elephant pee.
What? That's crazy.
The fact that you have a letter sit in there saying, dear Mrs. Letchford, thank you for your request to, I can't remember the details now, but the elephants have peed into the bottle provided and we've sent you this sample. It's dealing with language. It's taking my children who've never had any fun with language and getting them to think, now what could be in this bottle? You've got a letter from the zoo saying it's elephant pee.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a possibility? And it's the power of language and suggestion. And then they eventually get, you know, if I open it, I'm going to know exactly what it is. And this is a joke.
Yeah. And you can taste the elephant pea. You can decide, I'm going to taste that elephant pea. At least I will go down in history being the first to taste elephant pea.
And my students who have, you know, been given letters and sounds all their lives and failed are now engaged. They're thinking, they're questioning what could be in it, and they're ready to come back tomorrow with more fun and games, knowing working with this teacher's going to be different.
Yeah.
So that's
nice.
Yes.
It's fun to be with kids. They're so innocent. They teach you a lot. They teach you a lot if you just sit back and watch them, how they interact, how they, you know, and we adults need to just take a step or two back, really, and stop behaving as if we are all that.
Yes.
We are all that. Yeah, we have lost our childishness, our childhoodness, our innocence. Somehow, you know, over the years we have been programmed, and we need to unbrainwash, deprogram ourselves, and come right back down. It doesn't mean to say to not to know how to behave in a particular environment or situation, you know, because you know you're an adult, but don't lose that. Don't lose that innocence and ability to just be open-minded and willing to see, you know. Yeah.
And the playing with language,
of course,
is so important. Because what I really do is I teach my children who've struggled like the best readers in the class. And so that they're not just being left with dealing with letters and sounds. Yes, I have to do the letters and sounds and teach them that because they haven't learned that. My question is, how am I going to do it?
Yeah.
And I'm going to find a way that's not just, you have to do this.
Yeah.
So I put it into language and have them, like you do, reading books. And I turn those books into plays.
Of course. But books are plays.
Books are plays.
They're stories on a page. Yeah.
Yes. And I take the dialogue, turn it into plays. And in turning it into plays, my students then have the ability to change the words to their words.
Of course.
Start with the author's words, and if they don't work or they don't understand them or they're not culturally appropriate, then the child can say, this is what I would say.
Of course. This is how the story will end.
Yes.
Yes. This is how I would have started, middle, or end the story.
Yes.
Or how it could continue. Yeah.
Yes.
Where you see it going. Yeah.
Yes. And it changes from being that author's to being that author's and mine.
Yeah.
And anything I do is far better and far more important. You have ownership.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is what I want my children to have.
Exactly. Exactly. Lloyd, tell me your website. Let me feature your website on your book. Let me grab a page here to show that.
www.loisletchford.com.
1 second. Let me grab a page here. 1 second, my love. I'm trying to get a page up here.
Once I get things going on, fine. But like I had this morning, I had problems.
Hold on 1 second for me. Yep. Let me see if I can open a little page here. So Lloyd Letchford, LETCHFORD.com.
Yes.
Okay, the page is coming up. I see you here. Hold on 1 second. Let me share the screen. Here we go.
There it is.
Yes, so people can follow your newsletter.
Yes.
And there's lovely you here smiling as usual.
Yes.
And there's a book trailer here. Let me see if I can quickly play it.
Oh, this, yes.
When my son was 6 years old, he failed first grade. He couldn't read. Usually students have 1,000 words. He could read 10 words. And we were told that he has a low IQ. You can't do anything. The child is slow. I decided to take Nicholas on myself. I'm going to try it at home and work from home. And I had these books called Successful Phonics-Based Decoding, and it was a disaster. And made learning fun. You throw away what he can't do. Once we got that, you had a different child.
For the degree Doctor of Philosophy, Christchurch. Nicholas? Yes.
Oh my God.
I'm graduating from the University of Oxford with a DPhil in Applied Mathematics.
I became the reading specialist teaching children who failed in reading programs.
As opposed to focusing on the weaknesses and capitalise on their strengths. I would have gone to Oxford if it wasn't because of my dreams and aspirations.
Labelling is the worst thing we do to children. Believe in your child, then they can achieve whatever they like.
Oh my God, you're gonna make me cry. I'm gonna cut you off now. I am going to cut you off. I am so serious. Oh, Jesus, Lloyd. Lloyd.
That's the reaction, isn't it?
I am going to cut you off this show. I am not going to speak to you ever. Lloyd, as a mother, oh Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I feel, oh my God, you're going to make me cry on air.
That movie moved me to tears and still moves
me to tears when I saw your son.
Yes.
Oh my God.
All that he's achieved. And his beautiful wife.
Oh, she's there. I didn't even know, but I am so
You can watch it again.
Yes, that is such a moving story. And I am so happy you never gave up on him. And I want a lot of parents, mothers especially, to never give up on their children. Never give up on their children. No matter what the man in your life says, you are the mother. Go against all odds. All odds. Fight on your own if you have to. Oh my God, Lloyd, you, of all my guests, you have me crying on my show. Oh my God, that is awesome. I am happy for you and your son. I'm happy for your family. I'm glad you never gave up.
Yes, I agree. I just want to sell my book and get my message out.
Yeah.
That we must teach children to read. We can teach children to read, and we must teach children to read.
And it's more than reading. I'll tell you something, it's more than reading. Reading is just a part of it, but it's believing in your children. The story is about believing. You did not believe that your son was the worst in 20 years that teacher has seen. That is what it is.
Yeah.
You did not believe.
No, not at all.
And you chose not to accept that and wear it as a cloak.
Yeah.
You did not believe.
No.
And we as parents and mothers, whether of our own biological children, caregivers, adopted parents, I don't care. Somebody that you love or a child, a total stranger.
Mm-hmm.
You must not believe what other people say. Even of yourself, they might say things about you. Do not believe. You must know who you are, stand firm in who you are, and believe you are more than, because you're not put on this earth to be anything what other people say about you. Okay? Lloyd, I thank you. Oh my God, Lloyd. I thank you. I thank you. Thank you for being on Between the Lines. Thanks for sharing your story. Thanks for being the greatest mother. Thank you. Thanks for being an inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here and share my story.